Coronavirus. Cover your face up, social distancing. Good, we're recording. Hey guys, hey, you know what's going on. COVID-19, right? Big deal. Real or hoax? That's what everybody wants to know. It's like, wait a minute, I don't know someone. I know someone who knows someone who knows someone. All that nonsense is going on. Hey, it's Justin Harris with wetrendu, and that's what we do. And we are a brand new group that we put together. Right now it's just me because my buddies, well, they are scared to leave their house. So I'm at my house. I tell them to come over here. It is what it is. Hey, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's concerned. There's a little bit of fear out there going on, especially when countries like Italy or the new kids on the block who found out they had it didn't really, according to everyone, say, oh, they're not on it or whatever it wasn't, and bam, next thing you know, it was like a spawn, an outbreak. Prayers go out to them over there. They're going through a lot. And the US is right behind you guys because it was treated the same way here, and then it got here and you see what's going on. So I really wanted to cover some of this stuff under wetrendu, where we highlight topics like this and really help educate everybody, because I see a lot of dumb things happening out there, and that's my opinion. It's exactly what it is. It's stupid because people are doing things that are just asinine, and there needs to be someone that just reels them back in. There's a lot of videos out there that talk about different things like that. It's real important to not be biased, okay? Go and get your information, have facts, put it back out there to the public so that people are aware. Maybe they don't have the same contacts or just, the ambition to go out there and find more info. So that's what I decided to do. That's the purpose of wetrendu. And we like to have fun with things. We're across the social media platform as we're trying to build this up. I hope to bring you topics every day that are strong and that allow you to come back and comment and tell me, Justin, you're wrong, dude. What the hell are you talking about? Or, you know what, dude, you're dead on. And you'll see some of my other partners that are here with us that are, I have my lovely assistant here right now. She's gonna be asking me some questions. And we're gonna really dig in on this. So let's get in on it, right? So I wrote down some real strong key points and heavy hitters, especially after watching the president's, our honorable president, live press conference today, Sunday. Today's what, the 22nd? And he was pretty thorough. What he explained about how things are going and unfolding here in the US and what they're doing to try to combat this virus. Some of the things that I want to get into, because there's so many people out there that think that there's some sort of hidden agenda. I don't see it. Why would there be a hidden agenda? I have personal friends, close friends that really believe that there's like a society or some group that has a purpose. Listen, if their purpose is to lose billions of dollars with MLB, NBA, NCAA, that's just on the sports side. Then you look at our economy, you look at the stock. Listen, I'm an entrepreneur at trade. I own businesses, and I'm also involved in commercial real estate. And I got to tell you, that's not a smart move. You're really going to sink the economy if your goal is to plant the world with virus so that you could try to bring it back up. You're going to leave a lot of people struggling, and this is not the goal of a country that is democratic, where a vote counts and everyone's vote counts. This is not a socialist situation where it's going to guide everyone back into some sort of economy like that of Venezuela. We've seen how that goes, right? Everyone knows that story. Cuba's done it too. Love you guys over there, but you might want to change your policies. So doing that as a small business owner, it doesn't work out, right? So there's no reason for this to be a hoax. This shit's real, all right? And I'm always gonna bring you what's real. And looking at that here, My thing is, look at the origin. Where did this come from? Not looking at China, looking at the actual cause. This all comes back to how things are done. When you're handling animals and there isn't a standard, and the goal is to just get it out in mass quantities, you have herds, you have exchange, you have washing in the streets and cutting and butchery and things like that happening. We've seen that here in the US back in the early 1900s in New York. I mean, come on. You've seen it all the way back, going further back than that with the plague and so forth in England and France. Come on. When there's sewage in the streets, when there's things like this, you know what's coming next. And it's the small giant, okay? It's the virus, it's the bacterias, it's these diseases that come out that you don't see, and they hit you and you get hit hard. It's happening today. So looking at that, that's why now it's important that education across the world is spread. Not only with education, but monetarily to help those countries that don't have it, that are less than fortunate, to help get them where they need to be.
Well, that's the thing too. Speaking of education, when immediately when the president was saying, "Oh, this is Chinese virus and stuff," and everybody got all offended, and it was Kung Fu virus or whatever it is. People are so quick to jump on, what is being said or
the thing is people like to point the finger, and it's not about pointing the finger, it's about solving the problem, right? So in this situation, what happened was they're nitpicking at what the president's saying. Listen, at the end of the day, his goal is the same as ours. Let's not sit there and paraphrase what he said. Let's look at the point he's covering, right? And the point is the mishandling of animals in this sense, where we have something that what we know for a fact, a virus that is passed from animal to human. That's a crazy cloaking device, in my opinion, because you have a virus that we could completely eradicate and not know that the cow we're moving across from one location to another is the carrier, and here we go again. So it's obviously we can go from testing from humans to then testing animals, but what's the problem again? Standardized testing across the world, not just here in the US and other countries that can afford it, across the world, which means more money, which means more education, which means more expense, which means the reason why we buy outside the US, corporations and so forth, is because it's pennies on the dollar to get the work done. Well, guess what? That has nipped us in the butt now. So while everyone has become multi-hundred millionaires and billionaires cutting corners, that's fine. Look what it is now. So that's a huge point that a lot of people don't understand, and hopefully we can start looking into those things, and it comes back to things that are done easy, go easy, right? So moving forward, looking at what we do know about this virus, okay, 14 days for most even to discover symptoms, and that's on the average, right? So on the below average, you have people that are not exemplifying any symptoms, right? Then you have those who, the moment they came in contact, a few minutes later, they're sneezing, right? So because there's that window of what's happening, how do you capture and quarantine something like that? And I'm going to come back to that because that's where we're going.
Oh yeah, I got a couple of questions on that too. So
we're going to come back to it because that's definitely the big topic here in the U.S. That they're trying to now really nip this in the butt and corner everything that's going on. And I understand, I clearly Marine Corps background, and that's my thing. I take pride in that, and I understand the way procedurally things have to go in protecting the United States. I swore by it, and I still swear by it. And that's just, we all have an honor, a code. If you don't have a code, then who are you? Then you need to dig deep down and find that. And with that, I'm looking at what we got going on, and I'm like, okay, I like to simplify things. I like to dumb things down because I feel like I'm really good at explaining things. Not saying that the person is dumb, but saying that if I can break things down in a way that helps you understand in comparison to everything else you do in life based on what it is that you have as a skill or a practice throughout your entire life, then I'm going to compare it to that so that you understand it, because then you can tell the next person and we can now spread that education. And that's essentially the goal, right? So trying to stay on task here, because I really don't want to take up too much of you guys' time, but I definitely want to get across some really strong facts and research as we unfold through this, going day to day. And it's my goal to really listen to all the different media coverages, and then from there, go back and check the references, because most people are taking the media and they're running with it. And come on, we've seen where that goes. The media gets out of control, and the media is an entertainment industry. You need to understand that. They're based on ratings. They love negative news because, man, that stuff spreads like wildfire. Okay, so I want to take that nonsense, take those trends, good trends, bad trends, okay, and really exploit them and for what they are, whether it's really great and funny, okay, or it's something that we all need to do better, right? Because that's the only way humanity is going to move forward. I mean, if this is how long the planet has been in existence, we are but a flicker of light in existence as humanity here on this planet. And I'd like to think that we've moved really fast when it comes to technology and the things we've done. I mean, look, in 2000, from the year 2000 to now, look at technology. It's insane. 20 years later, look where we are, So taking that and trying to stay on task here, what we know is also based on this virus is that it does attack the respiratory system. So I would definitely, me, common sense kind of guy, I'm like, hey, you know what? So that tells me you should probably buy things like Mucinex, because that dries up the mucus in your lungs and in your throat. Because if I'm not mistaken, especially with respiratory illnesses, when your lungs fill up with fluid, that's the issue, right? So let's try to prevent that, because according to what I've watched and videos and researched about this COVID-19, is that it's attacking the cilia, which helps move the mucus up the throat so that you can actually, when you're spitting and coughing out these gooks of nonsense out of your body, that's your body's natural defense. Well, COVID attacks that. So you're no longer bringing it up. So it's staying here, right? And then your lungs start filling up with this. Here comes pneumonia, all right? So the first thing I thought of was Mucinex, things like that. I thought about different home remedy, things like ginger and turmeric and lemon and honey, and making that a ritual thing, keeping your vitamin C up, drinking tons of fluids, especially water, alcohol if you got it. No, I'm just kidding.
So the other thing too is, like, with what you're talking about, wouldn't you say there's a certain age bracket, like with the whole remedy,
Yeah,
you would think that it would be 50, 60,
it's crazy because in the beginning, when all of this came out and there was all these unknowns, right? They were like, oh, well, only if you have underlying conditions, and only if you are extremely infantile, meaning, children or small children like babies,
asthma,
or you're elderly. But we're seeing cases of people in their 20s, 6-year-old children. Everyone's getting hit. This virus has no problem hitting you, okay? And the other thing is, and I'm going to circle back to that too, is whether or not you're a carrier and show no symptoms, right? So that's a danger in its own, okay? Because we have a lot of those people that probably are in great health, and that virus is just backpacking along to the next person. It's the silent warrior. So it's one of those things that, like I said, with me reverting back to training, every Marine will always say that. For me, it's survival and looking at the things that I know I can control. Don't worry about things you can't control in life. If you're practicing anything like that and you're just a worrisome person, I'm sorry, you better stop. Because there's nothing you can do about the things you can't control. But what you can control are your options and your decisions. And that's really taking responsibility of yourself and looking out for others, essentially, as a result, right?
Well, speaking of control, have you looked outside lately?
So, on my balcony, I'm fortunate enough that I can stare at the ocean and the beaches. And since all of this has been going on, I mean, it's been like herds of people out. And I like it and I don't like it.
Kids and all,
families,
families,
families, you name it. I love it. I mean, from the moment the sun is up. And I'm gonna say why I don't like it. I don't like it if you're doing that, but you're in groups doing it. I like it because you're doing it because you realize that health-wise, you need to keep your immune system strong. You need to work out, okay? But work out with this whole new term, social distancing. Work out smartly, okay? Because you need to keep your immune system strong. That doesn't mean sitting in your home dormant, because that will not keep your immune system strong. A body in motion stays healthy, right? So staying, hydrated, drinking tons of fluids, keeping your vitamin C up, eating properly, don't eat the garbage, getting some sun, vitamin D, huge, right? So I love that, but that's not what's happening outside my balcony. I'm seeing partying and all that nonsense going on.
How about the boats?
Boats and hoes, and I mean, it's crazy. So no disrespect to beautiful women out there, but it's just that everyone's out there partying, and right back to my silent warrior, that virus is just sitting there hanging out like, hey, so we're just kicking it, and oh, I don't affect you, that's cool, I like you. And so that person gets it, and guess what? That person, I don't know, has asthma. That person has something else where their immune system is just not where it should be, right? Or they're fighting something they don't even know they have. Maybe, they got a bacterial infection that they don't know they have for some reason, so their immune system is already in full throttle, and then they get hit with this virus because they decide to go hang out, right? That's how it happens. So how do we stop that? That's why they came up with the term social distancing. And they needed a one-word, two-word phrase that could, get out there and just people use it and actually apply it. Don't play with the word. I feel like people aren't taking it seriously, which is why I wrote the word hoax up here, is because they don't get it. Maybe they think it's a joke until, they get hit with something they can't get rid of, right? Because it's happening. It's happening and it's very real.
Well, just like the grocery store, it kind of really tells like the way that people eat and everything like that. When you walked through the grocery store
website, and it talked about everything basically can be used as a mask. And when I say everything, I mean that loosely, okay? You can use your t-shirt, whether it's 100% cotton. You can use your the mixture ones, where it's cotton, vinyl, or whatever the mixture, the polyester, right? They all have a percent value. The lowest value I saw, which was like 55% protection from the vapor, right? Which was using something simple like, I think it was like a handkerchief or something, right? So you can wrap your shirt. You saw me wearing a smart, right? That was just an example of what you can and can't do. That works, okay? All the way up to your surgical mask, which guess what? Is not even 100%. I think it said like 95 or 94%. So guess what? You're talking about protecting something that is your life in a surgical mask. Props out to all those people that are on the front line of the virus, right? With a mask that's not even 100% sure, right? And then we're covering our face as much as we can, because vapor doesn't just get absorbed through your nose and your mouth. Think about ear, nose, and throat when you get the flu, right? You get an earache. Next thing you know, you got a cold, things like that. So vapor can go in through your ears, can go in through your eyes, nose, and mouth.
How do you think we get like pink eye and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's exactly right. You know, well, that's touching your face, but it's all those different things that people are naive. It's like you want to believe one thing, but you want to be dumb to the next. It doesn't make sense, right? Looking at that and going further, you know, they talk about the cruise ships and the circulating air. They talk about the airplane. There was an airplane that was grounded 2 weeks ago because 2 people came down from New York on the plane, knew they had it, so they wouldn't let anyone off the plane. Meanwhile, so they got those 2 people off. They were on the plane for more than 2 hours, air circulating. Guarantee you someone else on that plane became a carrier. Now, there is how many seats on a plane? You think one person became a carrier? I'd love to know the stats on that, because that's unfortunate. That goes back to the misinformation and why airlines should have been grounded a long time ago. Recirculating air. So many people out there are carriers and not showing any symptoms, think everything is great, thinks it's a hoax, okay? Meanwhile, they're next to someone who is not in as great shape as you, not doing that great, has an underlying health issue that they're unaware of and gets it. Or they don't have any of that and they get it too, just from conversing with each other, because we spit when we talk. You don't see all of it. You see the heavy drops. You don't see the light drops, okay? So they get it. They don't show any symptoms. They go home. They go see their family, grandparents, or whoever. See the problem? So, and I take that, and I'm going to come back to that whole quarantine and the 14-day period. How does that work? Here's the common sense here. I just like to do that. So, right here, you find out you got it, you show symptoms immediately, okay? Immediately. But you weren't alone. Someone else with you got it. They show no symptoms until maybe 5 days later. They're not the full 14-day person, right? That means all these days that they came in contact with someone possibly has it, okay? So this person found out they got it, right? Let's say someone on day 3 that didn't know they got it from this person doesn't show symptoms for 14 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Mind you, we're under quarantine. They're out hanging out, my boats and O's, or they're shopping right next to other people, or they're mingling somewhere. Who knows how it happened? They went and saw family. They didn't practice any part of that social distancing that we talked about. Okay? They came in contact with 14 days worth of people. Not to mention any of those people that got it and came in contact with people any of those days. When does the quarantine end? How? If this nonsense keeps happening? How? If this can go back to an animal? This is why education is so important. This is why I did this video. This is why I want people to sit and think and listen for a second. You need to stay healthy. You need to keep your mind healthy, okay? And watch and learn. Stay away from the media. Get some info from it. Check their resources, okay? Their references. Who are they getting it from? Because a lot of it is paraphrased, misinformation, and then they go back and they play games and they just highlight this big topic because guess what? All they want is your attention, right? So,
well, that's the same thing with what I just saw earlier on Facebook. It was a news channel speaking with a patient or someone who has coronavirus. They went in, it was the same thing, day one. It was a day one person who got it, but they just showed no symptoms. Like they had, first of all, they had pneumonia, they had the fever, they had all that. They tested the coronavirus. They said, well, before that, they were like, well, you just have the flu. We're gonna give you influenza, the medication, and they gave him that. And then 3 days later, what happened? He got sick even worse. End up in the hospital. Then 2 weeks later, they tested for coronavirus, and then they were like, oh, he has it. So, boom. How do they figure that out?
That's like, exactly how? Right. See, you guys get that? I mean, so this guy knows he's sick because he started off with sniffles. Mm-hmm. Then it was a little bit of tingling in his throat. Hour later, he sneezed. He's like, I got something. Next day, wakes up, knows he's got the flu, completely under the weather. Had a doctor's appointment anyway. Goes and sees his doctor. They tell him, hands down, it's not corona. You got the flu. Go fill this prescription. He goes and fills a prescription, advises the pharmacist, hey, listen, I got something. It's very bad. Give it to me in the drive-through window. Goes through all of that. Takes his medication, feels even worse, okay? Goes and gets checked up, following up with the doctor. They're like, no, it's definitely the flu, it's pneumonia. Just stay on your path, stay healthy. He does everything he can under the sun. Medication's not doing a thing for him. He knows it. Goes back a third time to the doctor. They're distancing themselves from him. One of the nurses or staff there is crying because they had to break the news to him that he had it, that he had the virus. And he was like, so what should I do? And they said, we don't know. We don't know. You want to hear the scariest thing? Go to your doctor. Your doctor tells you have anything. And you ask for help and they say they don't know. What? What? I'm sorry? So this guy, I'm sure, was probably on the edge of his life, like, what do you mean you don't know? So short of the long on that story is he gets past it. Okay. He just stayed on top of his health. Like I keep telling you guys, okay, whatever he did at home, he beat it. All right. The doctors, when he went back to them, were surprised. Okay, they were like, we don't even know what to say. You're alive. So that's scary, And the press conference today, when the Surgeon General was talking, he said 9 out of 10 people that are getting tested right now are testing negative for the virus. I don't even know how much weight that carries now after seeing that other news story on this gentleman because, yeah, they tested negative now, right? And that 1% are testing positive, right? Meanwhile, that 1% who tested positive still came in contact with other people, right? So when does this stop? And for how long? What's going to happen to the economy? Right? How do we stay afloat? How do we figure out how to do this from home and keep going? That's where we're at. So guys, listen, I'm going to wrap this up. I know that on the positive side, FEMA is stepping in. There's words of quarantine and things like that. FEMA is actually stepping in with the U.S. And what they're doing is, instead of it making a federal thing, the federal side is there for assistance for the local state governments. Okay. National Guard is called in for certain states in providing assistance with medical care and everything thereof in keeping and enforcing within their states. Okay, this is by no means a martial law. All right, we all know what martial law is. If you don't, please Google it. Okay, but I'm going to give you the short on that. It basically means military steps in, they run the streets. Okay, you stay in your house, you come and go as they tell you. All right, that is martial law.
The other thing too is that they were talking about resources and goods. If you have them, let the government and
Yes.
stuff.
All right. So if you're that person that bought trying to get over on everybody so you can resell everything and upsell it, that whole price gouge nonsense, the government clearly stated, hey, listen, we'll buy it back from you at the regular price, all right, and save you of that and getting yourself in trouble. If you do not, and obviously they've identified you at this point, then they will go other measures. I wouldn't want to know that. All right. They did advise that their latest website, coronavirus.gov, is available for those who need to keep up on any of the questions that they may have that the U.S. is currently being able to answer as new information has been revealed. So they're trying to keep everyone educated. And like I keep telling you guys, research, get the education, get on top of it, right? Anyone that's watching this right now, thoughts, concerns, leave your comments below. All right, this is our first time doing this, our first rodeo, and unfortunately we had to start this with this kind of trend. We initially didn't want to. We had some other trends we wanted to cover, but right now this is a real deal. All right, there's a lot of lives being lost, and the question right now is, how long will it take, and how many lives are going to be lost? And I love you guys. We've trained you. That's the new deal right now. It's my first rodeo. Love you. Like I said, Justin Harris. Hey, leave your comments below. Subscribe. We're going to do this nonstop from this day forward. Peace.